Hi, Muggy Park. I thought today I'd read you one of my other favourites, The Boy Who Unplugged the Sea. It's one of our Learn Together books, which I really enjoy. Let's see what happens. Little Marcel loved building beautiful sandcastles, but the tide would always wash away his fantastic creations. Until one day, Marcel has an amazing idea. He'd simply swim to the bottom of the sea and unplug it. Unfortunately, his actions have drastic consequences, and Marcel must find a way to put things back to normal before it's too late. Shall we see if he can manage to put it right? Unplugged the sea. It's written by Paul Brown. Building sandcastles was one of Marcel's favourite pastimes. He would spend hours on the beach with his dog Whippy, creating amazing sculptures out of sand, shells and pebbles. Look at that one. I wonder if you can build a sandcastle like that. But annoyingly, when the tide came in, Marcel's lovely creations were washed away. He tried building his sandcastles further away from the sea, but the sand was just too dry and wouldn't stick together. He dug really deep moats around them, but they eventually filled up with the seawater and his creations crumbled. No matter how big and strong Marcel built his sandcastles, the sea was always bigger and stronger. That's a really big sandcastle, isn't it? Eureka! Before bedtime, as Marcel was washing the sand out from his toes, he had an amazing idea. That's it, he exclaimed. The sea was just like a gigantic bath. He would simply unplug it. Do you think that will work? Do you think the sea's got a plug at the bottom? I'm not sure. Without delay, Marcel got straight to work. Whippy, we're going to need something special to get to the bottom of the sea. With nuts and bolts and springs and screws, Whippy and Marcel worked late into the night, until finally, with the last whiz of his drill, the diving machine was ready. How exciting. Full of excitement, Marcel raced to the beach to launch it. Luckily, it was high tide, so with a splash and a zoom of his propeller, he disappeared below the surface. Marcel travelled deeper and deeper underwater, past all kinds of weird and wonderful sea creatures, until he eventually spotted the plug. The old chain was extremely heavy, and it took all of Marcel's strength to lift it to the surface. Back in the boat, Marcel attached the chain to his crane. Hoist her up, Whippy! Suddenly there was a loud gurgling noise, and as the plug came up, the sea started to disappear down a huge whirlpool. Their little boat was swirled around as the ocean drained away, until they eventually found themselves washed up on the rocks. All around Marcel, the creatures of the sea were trapped on the sand and in all the shallow rock pools with no means of escape. Do you think that's good for those animals? Will they be able to survive without the sea, do you think? Then Marcel realised that without the sea, the frozen ice caps would begin to melt and the polar bears and penguins would have nowhere to live. He needed to fix things, and fast. Can't have them having nowhere to live, can we? That's it, shouted Marcel as he jumped to his feet. If there was a plug hole, surely there must also be a tap. A tap for the sea. I'm not sure he's going to find one of those. But where could it be? Where do you think it would be? And would they be able to find it in time to save all the creatures that need the sea? What do you think? For hours, Marcel and Whippy trudged through the soggy and sand, searching for the mysterious sea tap. I don't think I can see it. Can you see it? Just as they were about to give up, Whippy started barking. That's it, boy, but how do we reach it? Can you see it? Oh, it's very high up, isn't it? Then Whippy gave Marcel an idea. With miles and miles of sand all around, they started to build. What do you think they're going to build? The biggest, most fantastic sandcastle ever. Look at that. That's amazing. At the top, with a huff and a puff and a push and a pull, the tap finally turned on. With the force of a waterfall, the sea blasted out, sending Marcel and Whippy tumbling down into the rising water below. Do you think they've done enough to save the animals? Let's hope they have. Washed onto the beach by huge waves, Marcel and Whippy were wet and exhausted, but very relieved. Quickly the oceans filled back up. Dolphins were delighted, crabs were content, and the octopus was overjoyed. The sea froze to make ice, and the polar bears and penguins returned to their homes. Finally, with everything back to normal, Marcel didn't mind that his sandcastle got washed away, because he can build a bigger and better one every day. The end.